Now we are reaching the last panel of the day and moving a little bit from the digital space and to another space, looking at the textile industry, and we are going to be talking a little bit about circular economy and also about sustainability in textiles. So I'd like to welcome to the stage Kai Bond. Kai Bond is a fashion journalist, textile journalist. You're a critique. You're also an author. You've written several books. Kai has been working with sustainability, I think, for the last 45 years. So it's still not solved. Obviously, that's why we're still standing here. And I'd like to also welcome Anna Söderholm, from the Vice CEO from IVL. And on stage with us, we have Björn, Vedin, the CEO of Aditya, Birla, Domsjö, and Minna Karlsson Alm. She's a product designer, engineer, from working with also RA material transformation leader at IKEA. Mm-hmm. So however you're comfortable.
Shouldn't we sit in the middle?
Yes, please sit in the middle.
Okay.
And I give this to you.
Thanks, so soft.
Yeah. So I think to get the conversation started, maybe Kai, it'll be good to hear a little bit about you and your background, because you've been working a little bit within this space, and also your work with Promo Steel, which was actually looking into predictions of trends that are to come in society, and I think that's a very interesting to see. What and where is sustainability, and where is the textile industry and the fashion and design industry, where, how that has shaped in the last so many years?
Could be a very long story for a very short time, but the thing is that as I have been working with the future questions all the time, for many years. There are so many different aspects that I haven't heard today, actually. The last speakers, perhaps, I agree with everything you say. No, but the thing is that we mustn't forget that we are human beings and that we live in a nature. And we must have philosophy with us. Of course, the education we can get today it's fantastic. Everyone can become very educated if there is a possibility. And we have many educated people, but they are not allowed really to be free to do what's good for us, human beings, and for the nature. So, first of all, we have the nature, and we must keep it, and we must take care of it.
I think that's a very good summing up in that sense, because we are talking about a few aspects, and we started the morning with this. It's about the biodiversity crisis. We are talking also about climate change. So it's a polycrisis on so many levels. Consumption has not gone down. Consumption has gone up, and I think I now leave it over to you to take this discussion and maybe starting with on a little bit about the studies, but also, as I mentioned, we have Björn and Minna here, so I'll hand it over to you.
Yes.
Shall I start?
Yes.
So you want me to?
No, because you're a professional.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's very a pleasure to be here, and I think it's still an unsolved questions for the textile industry, and we need to keep up. And I think I also agree with you about this. We need to start to do things. Too much planning, too much theoretical thinking, and especially this concept of circular economy. It sounds very good, but it's a lot of things that we need to put into place if it's going to work. And if we look at the textile industry or the textile use in Sweden, we just made a study this year, and very disturbing that we have actually increased consumption by 40% the last 20 years. So we're not going in the right directions, I would say, because we should reduce the use per person much more. What is good anyway is that we can see the second hand, of course, in these figures. It's around 6%. But we need to increase that one much, much more. Very disturbing is that a lot of the textiles that we buy, they are stored in our wardrobes. 1/3 is not used. So there's a lot of resources that are misused. And I think one of the main issues we need to take care of now in the future is use of resources, because that puts a lot of pressure on Earth. So we need to find the solutions here. I think I stopped there. So if there are some other.
Yes. Do you want perhaps them?
Yeah, okay. Maybe we can also request Minna Karlsson Alm from IKEA. And Minna, you know, design, of course, is quite essential when it comes to circularity. And, you know, so one of the questions we want to ask you from an IKEA perspective is, you know, where do we start? Do we start already from when product is designed and you want to, you know, sort of in the early cycle? Or what are we going to do with all the products that are already out there? Can they be still used for recycle and upcycling and so on? Like, what are the, you know, IKEA can have a positive impact, I think, with all the changes they can bring. So give us a little bit of some insight into, from your way of thinking and how you want to address this.
Hello, happy to join this discussion here today. As you know, we are very much passionate about circularity and sustainability within IKEA, and also being a big actor like IKEA, when we do something, we also do it with a lot of impact. So we see that studies shows that actually 80% of a climate footprint on a product could be reduced by making the right choices from the start. So it's all about making the right choices, such as, you know, how we construct the fabrics, how we design the workmanship of a product, and also looking into processes and choose of dye stuff. Since we are a supply-oriented retailer, we have really close collaborations with our suppliers. So we really look from the very starting, together with the designers, looking into how we can sort of enable higher share of recyclability and circularity by doing what you say. We can actually make better choices, and we learn something new every day. So we really believe in this, and this is also how we work with our product assessment of our range. We work with circular recipes. So it's a mix of based on the product needs, and also looking into what do we see that the customer has, where is their need in this product's function at home, how they use it. So just to give you a glimpse of how it could be, one circular recipe consists of different principles. So we have, for example, that we should only use renewable and recycled materials. We should design for recyclability. It could be designed for repair and care. So we have in total 9 principles that are put together in different recipes based on what type of products. And within textiles, we work with everything from small tea towels to a full sofa, for example, which is also a lot of textiles. You have so much more textiles within the products that you don't really think about, that is maybe not visible for the customer, but of course you build the function. Also looking at mattresses, for example. So we have so much potential, and by making the right choices. So this is also our way of assessing our new product that we develop. Are they better, and how to, that is a supporting tool for us to make the right choices. Or maybe if we see that it doesn't give us in the right direction, we can also decide not to do that based on this assessment. So it's a supporting guiding tool. And we have our goals to 2030, where we are committed to only use renewable and recycled materials. We are, like everyone else, on a journey, but we are very much committed. And we have also committed to the Paris Agreement to lower our CO2 emissions on material by 50% by 2030. So every product counts. And that also includes, as you say, what about the products that are currently selling? So we also do action plans to work on these. Either that we develop something new that replaces the old, or if we see that we have a lot of basics that we have in our range, we also do action plans to enable those to become better from better materials, better processes. So it's a balance of both what we call running range and our news developments. And I would say, looking at the recyclability aspects, we have a lot of articles that could then, be recycled in the second or third loop. But we also have a view of looking at the circular economy within IKEA. We also want to make that it's not only one closed loop that one product goes directly to recyclability, because then that product has much more value. So can we refurbish it? Can we repair it? Could we give it a second life on the second-hand market? There are pilots up and running now where IKEA is building up a platform where you can resell your old IKEA furniture or products. So it's different ways of catering for circularity. And it's not only straight to recyclability. Of course, the products we design today have that aspect, but we also have products out there that was designed 30 years ago. So it's all about, looking at the whole spectrum of life. And of course, we cannot go back and change what we did 10, 15 years ago. What we can do is to make the right choices from the news we do now and to cater for circular offer platforms for our current customers and our future customers to enable them to live more sustainable and circular.
Oh, well, that was a lot to listen to. Anyway, I think that we have to bear in mind that in Sweden, our small little country, we have two big communities, and that is IKEA and H&M. And they have, both of those companies, they are so big, too big for their own good, I would say, almost, because they have been also educating, not only selling well, but educating sort of many people, especially naturally in Sweden, of course, but also reached a lot of audience outside. I doubt that they have a future, because the future, people are not stupid. People want to take part of the creation and to live progressively. I think that is the future. And what that bear in mind, what that will sort of mean, we don't really know, because we are making the future as we speak right now. So where we are, what philosophy we have, or what kind of rules there are in different countries, they vary more than ever. And we must bear that in mind. Design is fantastic. Design is, to create something, must be for a human being a fantastic work to do. But it has to follow up with some kind of freedom. And if we are forced to buy and buy and buy, so that makes sort of the success. That's so far from sustainability and from what we live today, from the reality.
And so maybe we can ask a little bit from Björn, because, Björn, you're working with Domsjö Fabriker, and you are working with cellulose, and you are, so in a way, I mean, this was a discussion we were having, how sustainable is cellulose, and is it compared to lots of other material out there, whether it's cotton and so on. So there is, I mean, when you're looking at design, do we start with using a material like cellulose, which has a high sustainability standard? And then, since we're talking actually also about recycling and upcycling and all, and how good is cellulose for that? So that will also be interesting to, I think, understand and be part of this discussion.
Okay, thanks. So Björn Vedin is my name, working for Aditya Birla Group. Just to set the context, I think, I mean, we are having the production capability in the world to do recycling, but it is a little bit too expensive today, I believe. Our consumers are not willing to pay what it actually is all about. But if you look at cellulose, and you can compare, we are producing cellulose or dissolving cellulose from the tree, and we are making viscose out of that. And today you can compare cotton, viscose, and polyester. That's the three different fabrics you normally comparing. And if you're talking about sustainability, viscose is of course the most circular material, and to do that, maybe, I mean, Kai, you talked about people need to take their own decisions or have freedom to choose, but if you compare viscose, cotton, and polyester, I think the most circular one is viscose, and if you look at biodegradability, for example, polyester is not biodegradable, and compared to cotton and viscose, we're 6 to 8 weeks in biodegradability. If you look at clothes that we are using polyester or we're using cotton or viscose, there is techniques out there today that we can reuse, especially pre-treated cotton waste. We can actually get that into the production again and make fabric out of it, and we can use it in the viscose process. Unfortunately, it is a little bit more expensive than the virgin fiber, so to say, and to be able to get it to work, I mean, we had a company in Sweden that actually got bankrupt, that we were not able to. Yeah, we didn't want to pay the price for full recyclability, but I believe in the future, if we just are ready to pay a little bit more for the fabrics or the clothes, I believe we're going to have the different materials, or the recycled or sustainable materials. They're very close. I don't know if that answered the question, but that's I mean, from a viscose side, we are very sustainable today, and we are very circular. So it's compared to cotton and polyester, but
doesn't mean that we use less virgin material. Then we are still increasing the impact from the textile industry. So we need to work with both better consumption methods and also, of course, right production methods. So the fabrics that we use are more or less sustainable. Then, of course, with the cellulose fibers, you have to think of where are the resources come from, of course, because then you have biodiversity issues you need to consider. So that's something I think we need to think of as well. And we also made a study for Nordic Council of Ministers to look into, are there any financial instruments or economic instruments how we can promote circular economy in the textile industry. And I think we looked into the cement industry as well, the both of them. And so we are really lacking behind as well in the legislation, because we only focus on waste minimization. We're not focusing on how to reuse. I mean, you should, as a producer, you should have less waste. But there is no incitament for using recycled fabrics or recycled materials. And it's too cheap to do virgin materials compared to recycled materials. So what we found out was to have these combined policy instruments where you have like consumption taxes on textile products, new virgin materials, and subsidies when you use recycled fabrics or recycled products. So, I mean, this is also a way of going in the right direction. That needs to be, when you're transforming a sector, you need to have these policy instruments in place.
the world is...
Can I say something?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to add a little bit there, because I agree with you, of course, but if you compare cotton, viscose, and polyester, for example, if you see polyester is fossil based, so that is not good. And if you look at cotton, it's plant based, of course that is good, but cotton is competing with food industry, needs a lot of chemicals, a lot of water to make it. If you look at viscose, of course that's a virgin fiber, but it's sourced from sustainable managed forest, not use as much water that is used in cotton, for example, and it's biodegradable. That together with some type of recycling of cotton, that I believe you have to look into the difference between when you say virgin fiber and virgin fiber also, because there are differences.
What I hear is that we are talking about the situation for the mass production and mass consumption, which I don't believe in anymore. The thing is that in the fashion industry, we are doing the opposite, and also in the design industry, I must say, with furniture and whatever, all the useful products we have that we use. We are much more eager for special qualities. Like in India, there is so much interest in the variation of silk, for instance, which is sort of something that is very useful for sort of high quality fashion, and even low quality fashion. But the thing is, in the design area, all designers are very much into quality and value today, and that's the movement of, if we used to call it trends before, but we don't do that anymore because it became so public. But the tendencies instead is that we are looking for valuable products in our lives, products that we can keep, products that we can inherit, products that sort of doesn't hurt sort of our environment. So I don't know about everything that you say. Of course, there are built-up companies that has to survive, and you do probably societies a favor. I don't know. Do you?
So I also want to add to this, because here we. All of you, and Kai, you also work with a fashion company, Gudrun Sjödin. You sit on the board. So I think everybody here is somehow part of the ecosystem. But all of you have at least understood that there is a value in addressing these issues. And you're, I would say, the top 5 to 10% of the conscious producers or designers or the change makers in the society. But what happens to the rest? The ones who are doing the mass production and so on. I mean, we're talking about the 50 to 80% of the market that we have no access to influence in any way, because it's, that is all very gray and it's very hidden. We don't know what's actually happening in the production. We don't know what's being used, the destruction or degradation of whether it's material or land or whatever.
Isn't that scary?
Yeah, I think that's really scary. So but of course, being the top 10%, you can set the tendency, you can set the trend, and you can set what needs to be changed. And my question to all of you is, how can India and Sweden work together to bring this? And is like Kai, you've been saying also that the future is on handcrafted and bringing that kind of a value, because we keep going back to the word, what is value? And do I go back to my grandmother's time where it was high value, where she would pass down her wardrobe to her daughters because they were of such high quality that it could be passed down. And, that is a value. And we were not over-consuming in that sense, but you were also you were able to pass it on. And these were timeless pieces.
You mentioned Gudrun Sjödén, the Swedish company, dress company. Well, Gudrun is enormously sort of aware of the fact that what she's doing, and her clients, and how to get them. And now, as we speak, she is spending a lot of time producing in India, in Jaipur, in Rajasthan, and she found a new way, or a sort of an ancient way to color silk and other qualities, cotton, etc. And she's so keen to show that there is a future in that, to sort of take care of whatever, treasures you can find in India when you produce. And she's been producing sort of her garments for a long time in India. You know that, but anyway. So I mean, and it works.
Yeah, and I mean, earlier you mentioned about the silk industry and this kind of, and I was mentioning to you that today you can, in the South India we have this Kanchipuram silk. It's a very something also that is passed down and so on. But today you're getting the same thing produced in China and being sold in India for like 1/5 the price. What you're taking away then is all that work. I mean, the handloom industry in those villages in Tamil Nadu and so on. So we're losing all the craft. We're losing all that thing for a cheaper product that looks like, but in value it is not. So this is also, these are some, I think, issues when it comes to the actual fabrics and what is the value. We also talked about in Sweden, last year we had the same discussion, and we talked actually about recycling and upcycling, and we were looking a little bit more forward with what's coming in the future. But the only place in Sweden which was used for this upcycling and recycling closed down. It has not, I mean, this just happened recently. It's a disaster. There's not even a place now for us to go and do any recycling. So what is it? We're going to be dumping clothes in Africa or wherever. So this is, we are going to sit on this mountain pile of garbage and clothes, and this is really the reality of the situation. So what do you have in terms of a suggestion, and what do we, I mean, from a societal or maybe even like a philosophical level, where are the changes you want to see? And I want to start with you, maybe Minna, maybe talk a little bit about also, what from IKEA, you can be the future change makers, you can influence society. What are the things and how can you do it? Tell us.
I mean, we are always in close collaborations with EU commissions and other legislators to give input, because we are such a big company, we all quite often asked to give input and share what's the reality are. And I really think that the key is to meet around the important dilemmas such as recyclability. Then of course we ourselves cannot make the legislation impact that should be an infrastructure that are being built up in the society. But we see that there is a need, and Finland is quite ahead of us, where you can, hand in your clothing in another way, as you do with glass and wellpapp. And we see that the legislation is going in that direction. We also see that, in the European, we see that the legislation will, support a positive drive. And of course, for all the producer responsibility that comes with it, we need to go together in this, as a lot of different retailers, small and big, of course, sit with different challenges. But for sure, we are, as we speak, investing and building up and exploring new business model based on working with only recycled feedstock. But that also comes with a lot of challenges and limitations. I cannot do a product today from recycled materials as I do from a virgin. So it's also about educating the consumers of not expecting what you buy today. You will not be able to get tomorrow. It will come with maybe imperfections in dyeing. It will come with other design aspects. But that is sort of the key. So in the same way as we transform, we also need to together transform the consumer behavior in how we buy and the expectations you have on a product. Because of course we design something that should last for many years. Some years back we actually got a handwritten letter. It was a quilt cover that has been used in the family for 43 years, you know, in a cotton. And that is really with design for emotional connection. Because if you design something that is very beautiful and durable, people will keep it for a long time or pass it on to a friend or a family member. And the very last exit of that product should be recycling. That's why it's also about looking at the circular economy as a whole. And, you know, we are present in around 60 markets. We are adapting our product development based on legislation because we see it now, it actually hinders us from being even more sustainable and circular. In China, for example, it's illegal to sell recycled textiles. The TLR, the textile labeling regulation, that fiber tolerances is adapted for virgin. It's not adapted for feedstock, and especially not post-consumer. So you also come, and that is the legislation, and we have to follow that. Otherwise, we will be incompliant and we cannot sell anything when we work with recycled textiles. And that is what we really want to do. So we try, and we are in these different committees and work groups giving inputs of the updated legislation. So I think that is how we act. We also have people sitting in Brussels, you know, working closely with the European Parliament in these different related questions as well.
That is one community. There are many communities.
Yeah, I think I would add to what Minna says, because I think the legislation is really also key. Because, I mean, us as consumers, we are within a system. And we need this, we need to get the good, when we do a good choice, then we should get the benefit from it. And if we're doing it wrong, then of course we have to pay for it. So I think that's something we really need to work on, is the policy level. And there I really think that we could work together, Sweden and India. I mean, now we're working with the new legislation here in Sweden when it comes to a collection of textiles. You're not allowed to throw it away anymore in the waste bin. It should be collected for recycling. The thing is now that the recycling is missing, so that we need to put up on the agenda again to have more pilots. Maybe Sweden is too small to make recycling of textiles. We have a very small market, so this maybe needs to be in India, because you are the producers of the textiles now. So maybe that should be done there. But what we could do from the Swedish side, we could have smaller pilots, we could do innovation together, and then of course we can work together to upscale any technology. Now I'm an engineer, so that's why I'm thinking. I think that technology could be, of course, helpful.
And then we mustn't forget all the creative people sort of in the world. There are so many of them. I met the other day a young woman, Swedish woman, who made sort of a blast really all over the world. Her name is Ellen Hodakova. Ellen Hodakova, she found herself, or she experienced, she has been working for a while, but on her own, studying and trying and testing materials, and she found a way that gave her 40 million crowns as a prize for the world's best sort of inventor. And I must say, to follow her, Ellen Hodakova. You must look her up, because what she's doing, she's giving us sort of a proposition for the future, really.
I think that's very interesting. And Björn, would you like to give us the final word? Because I think we're a little bit over time.
Okay.
And it's a great discussion, but it's, I think, something we have to say to be continued, because it's not enough with the time. But Björn, would you like to give a sort of a final roundup?
Sure.
And then I get back to you, Kai.
Yeah,
Okay.
So
I would. I'm sorry.
We have the.
Please, Björn.
Continue.
Okay, so we have the process. If you look at textiles, we have the process, we have the technology to recycle, but we need to make the consumers to buy recycled. And I agree, it should not be done in Sweden. I believe it should be done where we have the people. And today, less than 1% of the textile waste is recycled. But then, if you need to have virgin textile, so it should be able to be produced from sustainable processes, and that is also very important, because you cannot only recycle; you're always going to need virgin textile also, and so that should be evaluated, I think, and if you do that, I think it's going to be able to succeed. But we have the technique today. We just need to get the consumers to make them to buy it or to use it, and then maybe when we have the textile, we can learn from India and Sweden a little bit also, because look at how we use the textiles. What you said, Sanju, how it was used in the past. I mean, you handed it down. Second hand or third hand or fourth hand is not bad. That is something that we maybe should learn from and take up again.
But the new
maybe yes, last one. If it's used as a clothing from the first time, it might not need to be used as a clothing in the second time in the use. I mean, look into that also. That is also possible. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to address the new generation. Don't forget that there are so many clever and well-educated new, creators out there in every field, and we must be open for them, to meet them and see what they do, because that's also our future.
Exactly, and then it goes back to what kind of societies do we? They started talking about this, about a sustainable society and a smart society and so on, and AI and all these digital technologies and all. But here we are talking about living things like fabric and so on. That's part of how we extract from the earth and what are we putting back into the earth. So I think this recycling is a critical issue when it comes to, is it just extraction, or are we trying to regenerate? Are we trying, what are the things? I think these are the bigger philosophical questions in terms of what and how, and do we change our lifestyles? I mean, do we set new standards of what and how we consume? Do we just buy one pair of clothes a year that's supposed to be so fantastic that you never want to change, or I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to think, like, what is going to be the ideals that we need to look at?
You're the engineer.
Are you asking me?
I'm just putting it out there. I don't know. It's just, it's a philosophical. I just want to get back to the thing of consumption and of really what is the values we want to see. I mean,
I think we need to learn from the men, because in our study we saw that, of course, the male wardrobes are more efficiently used. They have less clothings and they use it more efficient. So I think we women maybe have some things to think about here.
Oh my God.
But anyway, I would really like to see more kind of, because we have been working with circular economy in the construction sector, and we saw that to bring the community together, the different companies, smart designers, really to find the ways how to introduce this into new industry. And there are so many good examples that we are putting together in a knowledge platform for everyone to read. Oh, they did like that, and then you can learn from each other. So we need to start like a movement where we can put together. It can be for large-scale recycling, for example, pilots. It can be for more long-lasting, very valuable clothings, for example. So I think we need to build these platforms.
But we need to see also, because it's, I mean, we are used, in Sweden anyway, we are used to everything that is mainstream, so to say. And because it's like a lot is enough, but it's not, it's the opposite. Less is much more efficient. And what I want to say with that is that we have to change a little bit our values. Of course, we have, I mean, Sweden is a very small country, and Denmark, for instance, is totally the opposite, because they are so much much more individualistic in their choice. They decide, they are different, and everything is different in that little country. And we, number two, are sort of all the same. Why are we all the same? Why? Can somebody answer that?
We're a country of engineers, that's why. Not designers.
No, but that's not true, because if you see it, look at the education today, I mean, the schools we have, they are fantastic. They're really, and they sort of give space to a new generation.
And I think, yeah, and I mean, we have just touched on, you know, let's say the top of the iceberg on this topic. I think as you go down and we talk about values, it can be values of production, it can be human rights issues when it comes to production. I mean, there's so many things when it comes to what and how we consume, you know, and I feel that's a more deeper and a longer discussion. But like you say, maybe this is a start of creating such a dialogue platform. We are doing this once a year, but maybe there needs to be something more continuous where we bring these debates and discussions out, and of course out to the public. And maybe that's a little bit to all of you who are pioneering all this work. So thank you for all the work you're doing and for you know, the different solutions you're bringing to the table. Thank you for the discussions. And yeah, this is a kind of a closing of the day. We started with a little bit on climate and these issues. I think we can close with this talk on preservation and conservation of nature, and also, you know, how we as guardians of this planet try to take care of it, you know, because I think we need to take that responsibility more than what we are doing today. Thank you very much, Kai. It's really an honor to have you here. I don't know if many of you know, but Kai was one of the first people to start the Glossy magazine in Sweden. I mean, she's really been in the forefront of both design and fashion, and the whole fashion industry has followed you, and in the whole of Scandinavia in terms of, you know, you're providing your trend analysis and giving those insights. But she's been pushing the industry for the last 40 years to think about the ecology and environment, and it still hasn't come yet that far.
I don't give up.
But the thing is not to give up. But I mean, it's interesting also that we, you know, that the fight is still on. You know, it's not a new topic for you, but yeah. So, but I think we are, the India-Sweden bridge can do wonders and should do. So thank you once again, everyone.